After you click the New button to create a new section, it shows this screen. Now at the top you see there's an asterisk next to section name. That means you have to fill it out. And you can fill out a description also. And over at the right is the Save button. So the purpose of sections, I want to make this clear, the purpose of sections is actually to break out pricing. Okay, oftentimes your customer will ask you to break out pricing. Now I'm going to fill out the section name here. I'm just going to name it electrical, but if you're doing low voltage, you might name the section low voltage, okay? Or you can name it whatever you want, but I'm going to use an example, and then I'm going to give you a mini lesson on how to use sections, give you some ideas. Okay, so I typed in the name electrical here. Next, I will click the Save button. After I click the Save button, we see in my estimate here, at the bottom left here under section name, I see one section here. Now again, the purpose of creating sections is to break out pricing. I'm going to show a few other examples of how you might create sections in here. But let me explain. Again, the purpose next is you would make a material list and you would input the materials into that section. Now, if you have multiple sections, you have to make different material lists and input the materials into each section. Over at the right next, if I was done or just using one section, I would click Take Off Edit. Let me show you some more examples for sections to give you food for thought. In this case, imagine that I have some electrical to estimate, but the owner is asking to break out pricing separate for the 225 amp panel. So there's a section called electrical and one for 225 amp panel. Okay, so again, I would have to make separate material lists for each and input the materials into each section separate using the edit takeoff buttons here that are lit. Okay, I'll show you another example here for sections, give you some ideas. In this example, I didn't take the time to change the estimate name here, but say you're estimating a residential project and your client or customer asks you for separate pricing to wire the room addition and separate pricing to add lights in the garage. So there you would create separate sections for each cost breakdown. I'll show you another example. Again, another example, imagine that you have to do electrical in the offices and they ask you to break out pricing separate to add 3 fire alarm pull stations. You create sections as such and make separate material lists. Okay, I'll show you one more example, then we'll move forward. In this instance, say that you're doing electrical for a company, but they ask you for separate prices, or the blueprint state separate prices as an alternate to wire electric car chargers. Okay, so I think that's enough examples. Again, the purpose of sections is to break out pricing separate. Now, when I proceed with this, I'm just going to have the electrical section to move forward with training. Okay, I'll only have one section, but again, this is the use of sections. And let me say it again, the next step will be to take off edit or to edit takeoff. After you make a material list, you'll go into the estimate and edit the takeoff.